just get them to me as soon as you can, so we can go.
And I'll ship those right to you.
Okay, great.
So you'll have them.
That's why I needed, if we went and did this.
$7,000.
Robert.
They are actually digging fine. And,
Not even on
now
the
that
stop
may be
machine.
evaluated. That's, no, that's a. Gotcha.
Thank you for those kind words. Get out of there. Neither one of us are. Haven't you?
Never.
I can't
Okay.
go way back to 19.
Right.
Well,
19, go to the, that baseline.
All check.
Listen, I'm an attorney. I'm actually. I'm representing. I am. I want to say. People.
On these later.
Everything.
I want you to. I am. Okay? No, I'm not under. Not by now. First one.
Well, I just told Mr. Burns this will not happen again. All this stuff's not going to be put on the agenda again. No way. Everybody gather. We're going to get started here in a couple minutes.
I know.
Give it to Mr. Moore. I'm gonna stick this on here.
meeting will be back, call Anderson County Council meeting back in order. Item 12B, resolution with respect to Milligan and Company regarding extension of the 1996 fee agreement. Mr. Pitts or Mr. Nelson, when y'all want to take this first? Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, may I?
Floor.
Thank you. What you told me on the break, along with what you just said, the light bulb came on. Since they allow these people to do that, however, to go back from where they were and extend their free in lieu of, right? My question is, are we going to lose any money because of this, since we're not going to start it at the day's time? Excuse me, you aren't answering my question, though. What was my question? Are we going to make any money off of that? Are we going to lose any money off of this? The fact that they can go back until the original fee in lieu of? Okay. Okay, same amount, no increase. But okay, next question. Is this, how many companies are we gonna have to go through now that's gonna jump on this bandwagon? I thank you.
Mr. Moore?
Next time we have a finance committee, I think Mr. Crowder covered that, but I would like for you to go back and all the fee in lieu of agreements that we've done, give us a impact, how much it's costing the county on each one of them as far as in revenue. For the finance committee meeting, how much it's costing the county?
I would like to see, Mr. Chair, I would like to see that on the floor,
They will.
on the council floor, rather than in that.
Well, I mean,
finance meeting.
it'll go there first, but it'll come to council.
His
council have it.
presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
And
Mr.
Wilson.
President, I think Georgia just passed, their General Assembly passed 4%. We're having to compete with Georgia and North Carolina. It's, I wish that we would do it statewide, 4%. That would be a big help to small businesses, which are truly the engine of economic development in our state. That would add to the bigger industries. the sad truth of the matter is if these companies go, we have no tax base to speak of. We'll really be in a pickle.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they're tough over there. I knew the main guy for years.
Can we have a motion on the floor?
They moved.
Have a motion, have a second. Second, Mr. Moore. Motion, Ms. Wilson. Any discussion now further? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign. So the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to 12C, resolution with respect to Milligan Company regarding extensions related to 2007 fee in lieu of agreement. Burris Nelson.
Thank you, sir. This simply allows Milliken to extend their investment period another 5 years and gives them the opportunity to continue to invest and create jobs and stay sustainable, stay where they are. This also is another change to incentive and fee law that took place over the last 2 years. We bring this information to council as a recommendation from staff and the Economic Advisory Board, and we respectfully request you give favorable consideration to this request.
We have a motion.
They moved.
Motion, Ms. Wilson. Second. Second, Mr. Moore. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign. So the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 12D, the resolution providing for the limited waiver of the attorney-client privilege as it concerns certain legal advice given by the Ogletree Law Firm and matters related thereto. Mr. Pitts.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is in connection with the pending civil action against the county has filed against Mr. Preston involving the severance package he received back in November of 2008. One of the issues in the lawsuit is whether taking that action and giving the severance package was an appropriate or prudent thing to do in light of advice that the county got from its employment attorney at the time, Mr. Tom Bright with the Ogletree Law Firm. What this resolution does, it's a very limited waiver of the attorney-client privilege with respect only to the advice given by Mr. Bright and the Ogletree Law Firm during this period of time, so that Mr. Bright can testify in the case about the advice that he gave to the county, and it would also allow others to testify about the information they received from Mr. Bright. And that the attorney-client privilege belongs to the county. It can only be waived by the county council acting by way of a resolution before.
Do we have a motion?
They moved.
Motion, Mr. Moore. Second, Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed? Abstentions? So the motion carried. Mr. Waters, Mr. Allen, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Moore, Mr. Crowder, Ms. Wilson in favor, no opposition, and Ms. Floyd abstains. Moving on to item E, R 2011-049, a resolution respectfully requesting that the South Carolina General Assembly increase the amount of 911-related subscriber fees generated from wireless telephones meant to local governments and matters related thereto. I think this was asked about several meetings ago. We're in a workshop. The Finance Committee asked for Mr. Pitts to draw this up, and he's done this. Do we have a motion?
They moved.
Motion, Ms. Wilson. Second, Mr. Crowder. Are there any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign. So the motion carries unanimously. Moving on, we moved AF up a while ago, so moving on to item number 13, a report from the Finance Committee. Chairman Crowder.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Ms. Wilson. The first three items that you have, you'll turn your book sideways so you can read them, are the financial impact forms that have been filled out that actually deal with Duke Power or Duke Energy, where they are actually delegating funds to Anderson County to act as a pass-through on behalf of one of our new corporate citizens, Allegro. You'll notice that they are awarding them $55,000. I think it's $25,000 is the second one. And the third one is, I can turn the page, $35,000. This does not encumber the county to spend any of its money. So Finance Committee recommends these for approval.
We have a motion coming from Finance Committee. Doesn't need a second. Are there any discussion?
What is this money for, Mr. Chair? Who can answer that question? Mr. Burris?
Yes, ma'am. Are we talking about Allegro?
Yes, yes.
Allegro is, my glasses. Burris?
Construction, development, lines, water lines, water meter vault, maintenance.
Is this for the new, lines that we're putting in out there near, First Quality, over in that area?
No, ma'am.
Not for that?
Oh, Mr. Waters did.
Oh, Mr. Waters did, okay. Okay, all right, thank you.
Just
Thank you.
more
As-
action from the plant.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands.
Mr. Dunn,
I'm sorry.
I'd like to abstain from voting on this due to
Thank
conflict.
us, because of Duke Power.
Yeah.
Duke Power's name, in it. Show Mr. Waters going to abstain. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Because, I'm sorry, all opposed? So the motion carries by Ms. Wilson in favor, Mr. Crowder, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Moore, Ms. Floyd, and Mr. Allen. I correct myself, Mr. Waters recuses himself. He doesn't abstain, he recuses himself. Mr. Crowder, Mr. Chairman?
All right, the next item is some money that's been awarded to the local people who do voter registration through a vote accessibility federal grant in the amount of $10,873 to provide additional ADA electronic voting machine units that will be placed in different election precincts with the coming elections. You'll notice that it is a grant. It does require a general fund revenue in the future of approximately $175 for the next continuum year, 5-year cost of $875. So the Finance Committee recommends this for approval.
Have a motion come to Finance Committee, doesn't need a second. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. You can now turn your book back to the other way if you'd like to. This is the Tiger 3 grant application. The county has applied for Tiger 1 and Tiger 2 monies from the U.S. Department of Transportation to do infrastructure development and improvements. The request is for us to be able to actually put in applications that would help improve the intersection and related improvements at Wellpine Road and US 76, and also at the Keystone Industrial Park. The first project is approximately a $2 million project. The second project is approximately a $6 million project. This would be a total of $8 million that we would be applying for. There is a recommended 20% match, which would cost the county $1.6 million. We can apply for them without a local match requirement, but the phrase stand probably a snowball chance, you know what, of getting one with no matching requirement. In fact, actually, we stand even a small chance of getting this, but this would be an opportunity. So the Finance Committee moved this forward to the council to make a decision, because it does require a 20% match in the future, and so council should be fully informed of this. Finance Committee makes no recommendation as to how to pre-fund this, but poses the question that could be addressed in the next budget cycle that ends after the first of the year.
Thank you, Mr. Crowder. I'd like to ask Mr. Hopkins. Mr. Hopkins, on that mansion part money, couldn't that be in-kind work as far as labor and mansion, or it's got to be cash money as far as the mansion part?
Yes, it can be some in kind moving forward. We can't
Yep.
go back and reach for
Yeah,
what we've already done.
Have some.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And so this, we need a motion on the floor for this?
Yes, sir. Well, we're presenting it for council's consideration. did not make a recommendation.
Okay, we need a motion in, and on this, type return from the thing, and on the thing of get it,
I will individually make a motion that council move that with the consideration that we try to identify funds in the next budget cycle, and obviously if we can't come up with it, we would then decline to, if we were awarded.
right, we got that, we got that. We have a motion from Mr. Crowder, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Wilson, any discussion?
Just a quick
Wilson?
point, if you don't mind. Back when the interstate first came through, we should have had wise leaders that put some frontage roads in, but this might be a good start. Won't benefit my district, but it would probably be a big help for the county. Thank you.
Anyone else? I think if it's come through, it'd be a big help to whole Anderson County, be a big plus for it. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, all abstentions. The motion carries. Mr. Waters, Mr. Allen, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Moore, Mr. Crowder, and Ms. Wilson in favor. No abstentions. Ms. Floyd abstains. Chairman Crowder.
All right, Chairman, Mr. Mike Freeman, our county assessor, came before the Finance Committee with a recommendation or request, rather, to postpone the implementation of the 2011 reassessment. You will find in your packet a series of 4 pages of documentation that highlight basically why Mr. Freeman makes this recommendation. We did have some good discussion about it. I believe that you need to really zero in on some key points in Mr. Freeman's lane. There seems to be a general feeling with the taxpayer that if property is reassessed, that it would immediately affect a decrease in a person's tax. Property tax. Keep in mind that there are 2 parts of the algebraic equation that dictate tax. Number 1, it's the assessment value, and number 2, it's the millage rate. And the millage rate is actually determined by the budget that county council passes. So anyway, the only way to actually totally affect a person's tax bill is to reduce budget as well as reassessment. But the key word is budget. Now, Mr. Freeman did document the fact that they've been working on upgraded software that's going to be used, I believe, with 4 counties. Isn't that right, Mr. Freeman? And that he is requesting additional time. If you look at the last sentence on page 1 of 4, I need the additional time to allow completion of the first phase, adequate time to build a system to accurately convert our data, and train our staff to use the new system. The question that I have individually as a council member is all of this, if we give you, if council were to give you a 1-year extension, are you going to be able to accomplish these 3 tasks in that 1-year period so that we won't be faced with having to give another additional extension in the future? I have no choice.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of council,
Freeman.
you're allowed, county council is allowed to give by state law, a 1-year extension, and that's all. The only way you could get another extension is to go to the state and have that law changed. Some counties have done that. I have no intention of doing it. I'll put the implement the reassessment 2013 if y'all give me this year.
Yes, sir. Crowder.
Keep in mind, the Finance Committee once again did not make a recommendation to council on this item, but did agree to bring it before council for council's full discussion, decision.
Do we have a motion? Have a motion, Ms. Floyd. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Wilson, now discussion. Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I plan on opposing this tonight because, number one, I have a lot of elderly people that's come to me and talked to me about their reassessment. And a lot of them, some of the people, they can't read, and they have difficulty even able to appeal an assessment. Some of them didn't even know about the 4%. And I've had numerous, we heard from Mr. Walker earlier in the year, and I've had numerous real estate, licensed real estate brokers and salesmen that's called me also opposing us putting this off for a year. The commercial rates have gone down. I mean, it's unbelievable what commercial rates have gone down on property. And most of the real estate, I know you have sales, but most of the real estates that I have been around and been involved with in auctions and different friends, some auctioneers that's auctioning real estate, have gone down significantly. Our people out here are hurting, and I'm not going to vote to postpone this reassessment if it's going to help one person in my district. And nothing personally against you, but, you know, we've had 3 years, you know, to get this program working, and I think we should have been working on this for quite some time, you know, every 5 years for reassessment. And I plan on voting against this because I feel like that the people need a tax break, and this will, even with the 15% cap, there's been such a significant drop in real estate prices in this county. I feel like I have to go this route to give any of my citizens and my constituents a tax break. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Any more discussion? Crowley?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'm getting confused on years here, I guess. When was this assessment supposed to have been done?
It should be implemented in 2012. The date of the reassessment is December 31st, 2011. Normally, it would be implemented in 2012. The date of the reassessment doesn't change. If you back up a year, it's still December 31st of 2011.
Okay, and that's what you based the assessments on?
Yes, sir.
That year? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Waters?
One question, if we go ahead and do the reassessment now, what will the difference make with the 15%? How do we know that it's going to drop below that as far as real estate prices?
It doesn't really matter as far as when it's implemented and that happening, because the reassessment will still be done off sales from this year. Now, probably since 2008, 50% or better of the property has transferred, and those people have been what was called an assessable transfer of interest, went to fair market value, so through the appeals process, they probably got their value where it should be. The remaining 50% or so was capped at the last reassessment at no more than a 15% increase. Now, I don't disagree that the real estate markets went down some, but people need to look at what they're taxed at now and what their assessment was from the the market value was from the last reassessment. It's going to take a significant drop for most of the people that are left to see any kind of decrease in their property taxes, because they're capped well below even what the market is now. So, you know, for the most part, it shouldn't postpone the reassessment. It's not going to save anybody any money.
So what you're saying is probably not going to make that big a difference if we go ahead and do it? I know Oconee's going through, they've already done their reassessment and they're going through. So right now.
Hired it out for several months.
Right. And they're still dealing with that some. So it's really not going to make that big a difference if we go ahead and do the reassessments, what I'm hearing.
No, it won't make any difference either way as far as anybody receiving a tax decrease. That's probably not going to happen for the people that have not transferred. I'm requesting it because I need the time.
So the only people that this will really affect is people that have transferred their sole property
People that have not,
that have not? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
and they all have the opportunity to appeal in any tax year up until the first penalty.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody have anything else? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed? So the motion carries. Mr. Wilson, Mr. Crowder, Mr. Dunn, Floyd, and Mr. Allen in favor. Mr. Moore and Mr. Waters opposed. Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
I do remind you that this will have to be done by ordinance, so there'll still be 3 readings.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Chairman?
Chairman Dunn, the next item is Public Works personnel upgrade. We had a request from the Public Works people to reclassify, to allow them to reclassify 2 jobs and give, let's see, who wants to help me with that one? Had some, we had somebody that you want, was a carpenter, and you wanted to put somebody in a carpenter's position, and you wanted to be able to, we don't have any documentation
No,
on
don't
it.
handle that. Don't explain it.
Yes, we're requesting to transfer, actually promote from one department into a carpenter's position in the Roads and Bridge Department, and which will be an increase in salary.
Yeah, and the second one was in
Second one was,
stormwater.
we already have somebody in the sewer department that we'd like to promote
In sewer.
into a
Well,
higher position.
what you wanted to do was be able to offer the person a step raise as they increase their level of certification. Is that not right? They're currently a
Yes, sir.
level D, and you wanted to be able to make an offer so that when they move to a C and a B and an A, that they would be able to be rewarded for that. Is that not correct?
Yes, sir, I'm just,
Sir?
I'm kind of looking at Mr. Pitts to make sure I mean, this is a personnel matter, so I'm not used to standing at the microphone talking about it.
Okay.
Well, am I going beyond what that was what we reported in the finance?
We basically, like, every time he gets a class, a higher on his license, that we give a 5%.
In order to explain why they need this, the county has recently lost First Quality, some key employees in the same job description. And so we need to be able to offer a career path with some incentives to be able to maintain people, because it's extremely hard to employ people with a Class A certification in the sewer. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Have a motion coming from the Finance Committee. It doesn't need a second. Are there any discussion? And all in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. We're on to item number D, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, the last item, Chairman, is a memorandum of understanding agreement that we've been working on for quite some time, that you'll recall that council actually approved funding Innovate Anniston, and in order to be able to have an agreement with them, we've worked through this agreement that more clearly articulates and spells out what the responsibilities of Innovate Anniston is and what the responsibility of Anniston County Economic Development are. So the Finance Committee recommends this for your approval.
We have a motion coming to the Finance Committee. Doesn't need a second or any discussion. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, abstentions. So the motion carries. Mr. Waters, Mr. Allen, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Moore, Mr. Crowder, Ms. Wilson in favor. Ms. Floyd abstains. Thank you for that report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman.
Moving on to item number 14, approval of bids. Mr. Carroll, there are none. Moving on to appointments. Any council member, I didn't see it in the book. I don't believe you have anybody have appointments, anything. On item number 16, request Any council members? Would I like to go, I've got 3 requests, and I'd like to put them, or 2 requests at this time. I'd like to put them together. I got the William E. Pasco Child and Adolescent Center for their, or use of the Civic Center, $570. And $2,000 for the Anderson Sports and Entertainment Center where they can put on their yearly basketball program. But now I put that in form of a motion.
Second.
Second, Mr. Moore, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to appropriate $6,000 out of my paving account to the BHP for their parking lot.
We have a second.
Second.
Second, Ms. Wilson, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed? All abstained? So the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Moore?
Yes, I would like to also, for the Anderson University, I would like to give for $250 for that also, out of my recreational account.
Point of order, I didn't hear him, Mr. Chair.
$250 to the Anderson University Retro Track Rotary Club, thing out of them. I believe it's in the packlet. That's $250 to them. Do we have a second? Second, Ms. Wilson, any discussion? Favor the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Moore, anything else? Ms. Floyd? Ma'am.
I would like to allocate $6,000 from District 2's paving account for, to the City of Anderson for infrastructure.
We have a second.
Second.
Second, Ms. Wilson, any discussion? All in favor of Ms. Floyd's motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Anything else, Ms. Floyd?
That's it, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Crowder?
Chairman, I have 2. I would like to have them considered together. One would be to the William E. Pasco Child and Adolescent Center, which actually would be an interdepartmental transfer of money from our budget over to the Civic Center budget to help take care of allowing them to use the center. They don't have the money to pay the fee, and so they need $570. So I'll be willing to provide $200 there, and then to Anderson University Rotaract, $250 for that.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Crowder, and second, Ms. Wilson, any discussion? Favor the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Anything else, Mr. Crowder?
No, thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have the same 2 essentially, and that would be to the William Pasco Child and Adolescent Center, and that would be $200, and to Anderson University Rotaract, $250. Those 2 together.
Have a motion, any second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Wilson, any discussion? Favor the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Anything else, Mr. Allen?
That's all, sir.
Mr. Waters?
I'd like to appropriate $200 to the William E. Pasco Child and Adolescent Center, and then also the Anderson University Rotaract, $250 for that.
I'm sorry, how much did you say to William Pasco?
Oh, I'm sorry, 200.
200 and 250, I think, right? 250 to the Anderson
To the
University.
Anderson, yeah.
Have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just have a question. They only need $570, just a point of order, and 400's already been pledged. So
No, sir. 570's been, I thought it was 570 apiece. How much are you needing?
Just 570.
Well, y'all just take it back in. It's already been took care of. I done it on the first go around. Y'all just retract whoever's giving that money. There ain't no need. Anybody that's giving none. Just keep the thing.
Well, we actually, let's see, go ahead.
I give $570 out of my account from the very first get-go. I thought they was asking for $570 apiece, but anyway, that's took care of, and that'll be.
I'll be glad to split part of it.
No, sir, that'll be fine. That'd be fine. It's a good cause. They do great stuff. Christmas party and it'd be what you call it, so, out there. So that's clear. So everybody's taking money back with that. And so, going back to Mr. Waters' thing, you'll just be $250 on the Anderson.
That's correct.
Right, okay. We got a second. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Ms. Floyd?
I would like to request that the $2,000 that was set aside for the Anderson County Meals of the Homeless be returned back to District 2's recreational funds, please, because the amount they asked for was a different amount and it has been paid.
Okay, so we put that in form of motion.
Yes,
We have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Allen, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands.
Thank you.
Ms. Wilson?
I thank you. District 7 would like to appropriate $250 to the Anderson University Rotaract. For information.
We have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Waters, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Anything else, Ms. Wilson? Moving on to item number 17, Administrator's Report.
Two things, Mr. Chairman. One, the spay and neuter program authorized by County Council should be up and in operation this week. And the other thing, Ms. Dixon mentioned tonight about the 44 miles on the Saluda River. This past weekend, Mr. Matt Shell left the Saluda Lake Dam and went all the way to Greenwood, South Carolina. He traveled the whole entire route. He had some volunteers who went with him. We have a big appreciation to Grady's Great Outdoors because they supplied all of the kayaks and a whole lot of other things, and they provided transportation. We also like to thank Duke Power for their consideration, even mowing and a campground and waking up the camping party with siren every morning and keeping them safe from coyotes. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving on to citizens' comments. Mr. Pitts, please address the chair, state your name, district, address the chair.
Mark Powell.
Mark Powell, District 7. Oh, I got a frog in my throat tonight, too. What's up with that? Oh, accommodation tax. We can see slides that say that 76% of the people who show up in a parking lot are from some state other than South Carolina. But it's still a tax on we, the citizens. The other 70 or 34% are the ones who live in the county who have to pay the tax when we go out to eat as well. I'd also like to point out on Act 388, had it been 2% instead of 1%, we wouldn't care what, Mr. Freeman, but we don't tax assessment on our house. We would have zero tax because a sales tax statewide would have 100% covered the taxes on our personal homes, as well as, I think, investment properties. But that didn't happen. Yet we get all excited when mayors come in and say, oh, look how great that is. We did this. It's a tax. It's a tax. Don't jump into giving a tax lightly. Think about it. You're going to be paying it. Your children's going to be paying it. And yes, people from Georgia, people from Spartanburg, people from Greenville who stop by our little restaurants are going to be paying it also. But you're going to be doing it as well. So I never think a new tax is a good tax. Oh, the bath salt thing, thank y'all for getting that solidified. Oh, the citizens who have been addicted to it especially wanted me to tell y'all how much they appreciate y'all trying to make that so they can't get it again because they have an addiction problem. If it's off the shelf, they won't be, wanting to go do it because it's so easy to get. So thank you for doing that. Animal Advisory Committee. The guy who creates an ordinance votes against his ordinance. That was pretty cool. I like that. Good job, Eddie. Good job, Tommy. Good job, Francis. Good job, Miss Cindy. Oh, if you had given rules and regulations, which you never did, probably wouldn't have the problem. So who's the problem? The people who had issues or the people who never gave the other people the rules and regulations to follow? As far as going to the animal shelter, been there several times. It's a beautiful facility. The old facility took care of dogs. I get intrigued. I had someone tell me over this 911 center thing that Why, golly, that building's got bugs in it that every exterminator in Anderson County's ever had go out there, looks at them and go, whoa, I don't know what that there thing is. I can't kill it. So if you think we give out disinformation, think about the people who do it that work for this county, obviously, as well. How ridiculous to think there's a bug that doesn't exist in the world, but Anderson County's 911 call center. I wish I had known about the Saluda River run. I did the one from Powdersville when we did it back in the summer. I would love to have paddled that 40-something miles with them. That would have been a good trip. Saluda River is an asset. I grew up on that river. Back to the swim center in Anderson. I didn't need a swim center. My daddy threw me in the water and said, swim. We lived literally across the street from it. I did learn to swim, so people are still surviving.
Elizabeth Fan.
Elizabeth Fant, District 3. There have been so many things tonight. Boy, you talk on every one of them. I appreciate some of you council members who are so concerned and try to do the right thing. The animals are near and dear to me. We've got to do a better job. We've got to do a better job of communicating. As I said, you know, you all got up there elected with the idea of being transparent and accountable, but we're not getting that. And the reason that some of us still get up and talk is because we're still not getting the answers that we think are forthcoming. I do want to mention that I did see some information that was given to Mr. Burns. I didn't give it to him, but I saw the information that was given to Mr. Burns earlier on before Ms. Blair was put on the committee. And Ms. Blair, on one of the last couple of years when we're talking about the animal group in Liberty, the animal control person hired by the county, the way I understood it, was taking animals from the shelter and then housing them in Liberty and then adopting them out and getting money for it. Ms. Blair stepped in, but she got a $67,000 grant to house those animals, signed off by Michelle Dodd Powell for her in order to get that grant. So she didn't house those animals for free. $67,000. This information was given to Mr. Burns. None of this came out. I spoke with Mr. Allen during the break, and he was like, I didn't know anything about that. But you know, there's a lot of stuff you all don't know about. And there's a lot of stuff that is brought to the attention of the interim administrator and others that nobody deals with. And that's why we're so frustrated, because we know things, and we present them, or somebody does, and you all don't deal with it. Instead, you call us liars. And Ms. Blair is a fine person. She got those animals with a $67,000 grant to house and take care of them, whatever. And then when the event was over and the court case was over, she was able to adopt out most of those and got money for that.
That's everybody.
Ridiculous.
Thank you, Mr. Pitts. Moving on to remarks from council, Mr. Waters.
It's all good.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Just one quick question. Mr. Burns, did she get a $67,000 grant for those animals?
I cannot verify that. I can certainly check on it.
Yeah, please let me know. I'm not denying it, Liz. I just want to know. That's all.
Remind Mr. Allen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
That's all.
Ms. Floyd. Thank you. Mr. Moore.
Nothing tonight.
Crowder.
Well, two items. I would like to request our county attorney to draft a resolution to the members of our county delegation supporting them in moving forward with statewide bath salts ordinance and other drugs that's been previously mentioned by others here tonight. We need to be supportive of them, and I thank my fellow council members in working toward that goal. Secondly, I'd like to ask that at the next Finance Committee, if Mr. Burns would have a draft copy of the contract that's going to be executed with the audit firm so that we could at least look at it and review it. I would appreciate that. Thanks a lot. There will not be a Finance Committee meeting on this Friday, so everybody can rest and wind down for the week.
Ms. Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A great collaborative effort on the bath salts. That was a bit of hard work that came together quickly. And also wanted to thank our administration and our economic development people for the good job they're doing, and a good meeting down in Honeypath today. We are holding our own in spite of a very, very difficult financial climate. Still have lots to work on, so see y'all next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Just a couple of things. I want to thank the Animal Shelter Advisory Board for what they done and what they tried to do. Especially my member, Miss Medley, for the volunteers she done and working and kept me informed and everything. I really appreciate what all she had to go through and deal with, and appreciate what she done. Remind fellow council members in citizens of Anderson County, starting Wednesday, the South Carolina State Fire Chiefs Association will be coming to Anderson. Something proud to have. They got a couple of events. I think Chief Sims here last week and give y'all a packet about some events. Y'all look over at the schedule and feel free to come. I know they'd appreciate that. And thank everybody for coming. Meeting to be adjourned.
Thank you.